Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, where we discuss the latest news in world soccer, including the top games and competitions from all around the world. My name is Ben.
And my name is Alex.
We are back here on a Monday, although we were in the international break.
Yes.
So, honestly, it's a disappointing time. I'm not a fan of the international break. You know, I realize we have World Cup qualifiers to talk about, tables to update, which is obviously important. You know what I mean? Good positive results, some good standout performers of the weekend, but to me, it's just not the same, man, as club football.
Not when you have club football, and it's not the same when it's not the big names you're looking for. I mean, there are some, but not all the people are playing, and so yeah, I mean, you look at
unless we have like an actual competition, like the World Cup, the Euros, Copa America. Like this summer, we got the Euros, and we had the Copa America, so we had a good summer, but
Olympics.
Right, Olympics as well. So just with qualifiers and friendlies and stuff, it's just not the same. You know what I mean?
It's not.
There's storylines to talk about, obviously, which we will be doing in the first segment, talking about this week in soccer, updating you on the World Cup table, some of the results from the weekend. But it's just not the same, man. So
no, I agree with you. I know you
but
love
you know
your
what?
club soccer.
We will have club soccer this weekend to talk about, which is always a good thing. So can't lie. But anyways, let's get right into the show. We will be talking about this past week, specifically with the World Cup qualifiers going on in Europe, South America, and the North America, Latin American region, the CONCACAF region. It's literally just getting started. We had just the first game on Friday for a lot of these teams, then we have more tomorrow. So we will start with Europe, though, updating you on some of these tables. There's a lot of them. There's 9 of them, so we can't really highlight too much on all of them because there's just so many games going on, so many teams. But we will also update the tables and what some of these teams need to do to sort of get near the top of the table and keep on pushing on.
Yeah, it's pretty much it's set pretty much through, like you said, all 9 groups. Pretty set as it stands. I mean, Group A, France, Netherlands, Sweden, Bulgaria, Belarus, and Luxembourg all sitting through their table. France in the top spot there with 10 points as it stands. So I mean, you look at it. Netherlands not far behind them. I call them sideways France because of their flag. I call them
and reverse also.
And reverse, yeah. Because if you turn it on its head to the clockwise, you're good. And then Sweden tied with Netherlands as well. In Group B, we have Switzerland at the top of their table with 12 points, followed closely by Portugal at 9, Hungary at 7, and then we have the Faroe Islands, Latvia, and Andorra in the remaining spots. Germany, of course, top of Group C, 12 points, followed by Northern Ireland.
Why do you say of course?
Because when you look at the rest of their group, you'll understand why.
I really don't think they're that good.
Northern Ireland, 7. Azerbaijan, 7. Czech Republic, 5. Norway, and San Marino with 0. So what I mean is one would assume Germany would probably win out that group.
I mean, they had what in my eyes was a surprising 8-0 victory over San Marino this week. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I would have thought San Marino would have really handled business against the Germans. They're really not that good, are they?
Their goal differential is 16, so yeah.
No, but definitely, yeah, Germany, the best team in Group C, and they're handling business. 4 wins.
16 goals for, no goals scored against.
Exactly. And I honestly think
4-0.
Northern Ireland are probably the second best team in this group. I'm surprised Azerbaijan's up there ahead of the Czech Republic. I would think that the Czechs would probably turn things around.
They're only down by 2 points. So,
and obviously there's still a lot more to play in this So a couple more games left for each team. So I think they'll be okay. But
Moving on to Group D, Republic of Ireland is up there at the top with 10 points, followed by Serbia and Wales with 8 and 6 points respectively. Wales coming off a pretty big year for them in international soccer. Austria, Georgia, and Moldova.
Yeah, Wales with a 1-1 draw on Saturday against Serbia. Gareth Bale opened the scoring in the first half, but then Serbia equalized late in the second half. So Wales that really hurt their chances to try and get into the World Cup now. They're going to have to try and fight with their last couple of games left. Ireland in a really good situation now at top with 10. Serbia is sitting there in second with 8. So you have to imagine that they're looking pretty good. Wales need to try and find a way to...
They need to win now.
They need to win. And that tie on Saturday, that draw with Serbia was a big result.
Yeah, they needed that win there, if you ask me. Moving to Group E, we have Poland at top of that group with 10 points there. Montenegro right behind them with 7, followed by Denmark at 6 and Romania at 5. So the top of that is pretty heavy for the 2, 3, 4 spots. And then we have Armenia and Kazakhstan at 3 and 2. They're rounding out Group E.
Yeah, definitely a dangerous situation in Poland's game against Romania. Some protests going on. Robert Lewandowski, the Polish striker, almost getting hit with a firecracker, landing really close to him. So hopefully he'll be okay and everything, but definitely not any good when you have protests going on like that. We saw a lot of it during the Euros, so not a good situation.
Moving to Group F, we have England at the top of that table there with a 3-1 record as it stands. 10 points. Slovenia followed very closely with 8. Slovakia right behind them with 6. Lithuania 5. Scotland 4, and Malta without any points as it stands in last place in Group F.
Yeah, a good 3-0 victory for England on the weekend against Scotland. Gareth Southgate, now named not on an interim basis, but the full-time England manager. He was formerly of the under-21s. So now he is in charge of 3 lines. They get a 3-0 victory. Goals by Daniel Sturridge, among others, for England. A good, positive result. They will have a friendly tomorrow against Spain. Wayne Rooney not in the lineup. So Jordan Henderson will be the captain of the English team.
And I might have said Group E initially when I was talking about this one, but it is indeed Group F. Moving on to Group G, we have Spain and Italy neck and neck at the top with 10 points apiece. Both of these teams 3 and 1 as it stands. The tiebreaker would go to Spain for the goal differential there. Israel right behind them with 9. So the top 3 really neck and neck and neck. Albania 6, and then we have the last 2 teams in the place of Group G with 0 points each. Fear, Macedonia, and Liechtenstein, both 0 points.
Yeah, the surprise here for me is definitely Israel. A good 3-0 victory over the weekend against Albania. I think Spain and Italy definitely the favorites, but Israel just 1 point back between the 2 giants of Europe. So surprise for Israel, and a good placement right now. Still have a chance to get through.
As it stands, our last 2 groups. Group H, Belgium at the top of that group with 12 points, followed closely by Greece at 10. Bosnia and Herzegovina with 7. Cyprus, Estonia both have 3. And Gibraltar, no rock in that Gibraltar, 0 points for them. So as it stands, it looks like Belgium is definitely at the driver's seat with that one. And last but not least, Group I, Croatia in first place with 10, Ukraine with 8, Iceland right on their tail with 7. Another big year for them internationally as well. Another team with a big year, I should say. Turkey, 5, Finland, and Kosovo both with 1 to round out the groups and Group I.
We're both in agreement here that we hope Iceland gets through, right?
Yeah.
Croatia, definitely a powerhouse, so they'll be fine. And Ukraine currently in second, but we hope Iceland gets through. And then just the group above that, Germany, a nice 8-1 victory yesterday. And then how can we not talk about Edin Dzeko for Bosnia-Herzegovina with his red card against Greece? He's a little pulling down the pants, a little upset, which they were winning at the time, and it ends in a draw. So I guess you can say he kind of got caught with his pants down in that one.
You could say that.
No pun intended. But
you could say
so
that.
a bad result as they were 7 points now behind Greece as well. So not too good.
Let's look at, as it stands now, let's look at South America, Ben.
Let's do it.
So South America, as it stands, it's about the same position, pretty much about same, not more.
Yeah,
games
we just
played.
have. There's not as many teams from South America that go through as Europe, so we just have one pool of everything, and the top 4 go through, and then the team that finishes in 5th will be in kind of a playoff with a different region, whether it be Africa or CONCACAF, Asia, etc. So you look at that group, and I mean, at the top, it's pretty self-explaining what's happening.
Yeah, pretty much. We have Brazil at the number 1 spot with 24 points. Followed very closely by Uruguay, 23, and then it dropped down a bit. Colombia and Ecuador and Chile, 18, 17, and 17 respectively. And don't throw Argentina out yet; they have 16, so they are right there. As it stands, just outside the top 5, because that's where you want to be. If you're going to be, the farthest away from the top 3 you can be, then be 4 or 5, because at least you're playing your own destiny there. But Argentina right there, and then followed closely by Paraguay and Peru, 15 and 14. From there, it drops. Obviously, the last 2 teams, Venezuela and Bolivia, 5 and 4. So you could say they're not going to be anywhere near that. But realistically, I would say Brazil, Uruguay have the best chance, obviously, of moving on at any, probably 1 and 2. And then, Ecuador, Colombia, they're neck and neck. Chile and Argentina too. I would say Colombia's probably going to get in, and I would say it's really between Ecuador and Chile at this point, and who wants to take advantage of that 4th and final spot.
The surprise is definitely Argentina. 16 points through 11 World Cup qualifying games. They lose midweek to Brazil. Really, really ugly loss, 3-0. You had an absolute stunner of a goal by Philippe Coutinho. Neymar gets his 50th goal for his country in just 74 games, so he's actually on pace to become Brazil's all-time leading scorer. Talk about how rich that country is with soccer. You talk about people like Pele, Ronaldo. I mean, it's definitely looking like Neymar is going to be the top scorer in Brazil by the time he's done, barring injuries. Mm-hmm. And now they sit atop the table with 24. But the big one is Argentina. Like I said, a 3-0 loss midweek to Brazil. They need to make up a lot of groom, because you look at the teams ahead of them. Chile, a top team. They've won the Copa America 2 years in a row now. Colombia is a top 3 team. Uruguay and Brazil are sitting pretty. Ecuador still a tough side. Paraguay a tough side. So Argentina need to really do a lot.
Yeah, they're going to have to get a lot done. I mean, and like you said, it's surprising that they're in the position that they are, but you play to win, and they are in that position because of the way they played. So unfortunately, that's where we stand as of right now. And then, last but not least, we have the CONCACAF. And the CONCACAF, of course, they have the same pretty much set up. It's one table. As it stands, Costa Rica is in first place with 3 points, followed very closely by Mexico and Panama, all with 3 points. United States, Honduras, and Trinidad and Tobago with no points to speak of.
Yeah, we just had our first game of the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, like pretty much the hexagonal table, the finals of all this. So we just had our first game this past week. Mm-hmm. Mexico, a big victory over the United States, 2-1
there for them too.
They get a goal from Rafa Marquez, as you mentioned, just in the 89th minute to win for them. Good win for Costa Rica as well as Panama. So for the United States, they will now play Costa Rica tomorrow, a side they're going to be familiar with, playing them in the Copa America, a game they actually won and dominated. So for the U.S., it's going to be an important game. They cannot afford to lose their first 2 games of the World Cup qualification if they want to get in. And you can say they kind of got a little bit of a beneficiary, because Honduras and Trinidad and Tobago also lost. You have to imagine Mexico's probably a lock to get in. I still think the U.S. and Costa Rica are the best 2 teams along with Mexico, so I think they'll be okay. But a big game tomorrow, the United States, Costa Rica.
Yeah, as it stands right now, and we got some interesting soccer coming up this week, but needless to say, that's all we have for you at the moment with World Cup news. We're going to go ahead and take a break and come back and preview this weekend when they return from international break to club play. And we'll preview some of those games. Sound good to you?
Sounds fantastic.
All right, let's take our first break. We'll come back, and we will get just to that in just a minute at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concept Soccer Podcast, and it is time to look towards this weekend. And we have club play returning after the international break.
Finally. This has been the longest week of my life.
Okay. We're going to, of course, talk Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga games this weekend as it stands. So let's start with Premier League like we always do, Ben. We have games this Saturday and this Sunday and next Monday, a week from today. As it stands right now, the big day is Saturday. We have Man United facing Arsenal. We have Sunderland facing Hull City, Leicester and Everton.
No, Leicester and Watford.
I'm sorry, Leicester and Watford. Crystal Palace and Man City, Everton and Swansea City, Stoke City and Bournemouth, Southampton and Liverpool, and Tottenham and West Ham. To finish off, we have one game on each Saturday and Sunday, Middlesbrough and Chelsea, and West Brom and Burnley FC.
The big one in the Premier League this weekend is definitely Arsenal traveling to Old Trafford to take on Jose Mourinho and Manchester United. A couple of storylines here for players, both teams that will be missing action. It's not been a good international break for Arsenal and their fans. Alexis Sanchez picks up an injury, like a hamstring injury, right in the middle of training for Chile. Reports were that he maybe tore a muscle in his leg, but now it looks like it's not too bad. He's actually still training with the team, which I find absolutely astonishing. He said that there's no way he's going to miss their next upcoming game tomorrow, but honestly, I think maybe some people with Arsenal, maybe Arsene Wenger, are going to be urging Chile to rest Alexis Sanchez because they do pay his check, you know what I mean? So we'll have to see what happens tomorrow. He's still training, so I guess that's a good sign, but reports were that he might be out 6 weeks. If he's back in less than 1 week,
impressive.
I really don't see how that's possible. As well as their young right back, Hector Bellerin, he picks up an ankle injury, maybe tore a few ligaments in there. He looks like he might be out 3 to 4 weeks. So Arsenal, without a couple of their really important players, Zlatan Ibrahimovic will miss this game for Manchester United, having picked up his 5th yellow card of the season against Swansea in their last game, a 3-1 victory, where he actually scored 2 goals. So they will be without Zlatan in that game. So it's going to be interesting to see how Mourinho plays it. He's had Wayne Rooney in the lineup the last couple of games, and he's done okay. So I will be interested to see if he has Wayne Rooney lead his line or maybe a young guy, maybe like a Marcus Rashford. We'll have to see Saturday morning. 4:30 local time start here on the West Coast, 7:30 Eastern. It'll be a 12:30 kickoff in the UK.
It's just too early sometimes, man.
Well, I will be awake and watching the games.
I know you will be. You love it, man.
Definitely, and with how competitive the Premier League is, some teams that definitely need to get wins. Liverpool are on a run. They're playing Southampton, who are a very formidable side. Man City against Palace. Tottenham against West Ham. That's a London derby. Harry Kane's back, so maybe that will boost Tottenham's scoring chances. They just keep drawing. They've gotten 4 draws in the league in their last 4 games. They're still unbeaten. Maybe they sit 5th in the table because they can't beat anyone. All they do is draw and drop points. And then you have Chelsea just absolutely flying high, playing Middlesbrough, a team that just got promoted. They should be able to beat Borough.
Yeah, as it stands right now, I believe you're right on that one. All right, let's move to the Bundesliga. The Bundesliga has matches as well this weekend as it stands. Some interesting ones to say the least, too, Ben.
This is definitely the best Bundesliga week in my eyes.
I was just say, I think you're a big fan of this one, if I'm not mistaken. So as we move into Week 11, starting this Friday, we have Bayer Leverkusen and RB Leipzig facing off with one another. Saturday, the big day for them also, we have Darmstadt and Ingolstadt, Wolfsburg and Schalke, FC Augsburg and Hertha BSC. We have Mainz and SC Freiburg, Borussia Mönchengladbach and FC Cologne, Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich.
Die Klassiker.
That is a huge one. And then on Sunday, we have Hoffenheim and Hamburger and Werder Bremen and Eintracht. Definitely the biggest matchup of the weekend, I would say, though, is Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich.
Absolutely. Like I said, Die Klassiker, Dortmund and Munich. These two teams played earlier in a preseason game, which Bayern Munich actually won 2-1. Dortmund just not having the success in the in the Bundesliga like they are in the Champions League this year. They sit 5th in the table. They've just been dropping a lot of points. Bayern Munich have not lost a game this year. You got to think that you'd give the edge to the German champions over Dortmund right now. They're just playing a lot better, so we'll have to wait and see. But for me, another game that catches my eye is the Friday game, standalone game, Bayer Leverkusen against Red Bull Leipzig. Leipzig joint top right now with Bayern Munich. I don't know why I said Manchester. But they're joint top right now with Bayern Munich with 24 points. Now they're facing probably one of their toughest games of the season against Bayer Leverkusen, a good side who's in the Champions League right now. So we'll have to see if Red Bull Leipzig, Their first ever time in the Bundesliga, only their 7th year in existence for the club. See if they can compete with one of these top teams in Germany. And who knows, maybe if they get a victory, Bayern Munich get a draw against Dortmund, they would be top of the table. Crazy to think that someone named Bayern Munich 12 games or 11 games into the season would be top of the Bundesliga. But we'll have to wait and see.
I wouldn't know what to do with my hands.
And then you look at Hoffenheim, who sit 3rd in the table right now, have not lost a game. They'll be facing Hamburg, who literally might be the worst team in Europe's top 5 leagues, last in the Bundesliga right now. So that should be a game they should win.
Yeah, I imagine they're probably going to win that one outright. All right, and let's finish off with La Liga preview as we have games on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We have Real Betis and La Palma facing one another on Friday morning here, of course. Deportivo and Sevilla facing each other. We have Eibar and Celta Vigo. Barcelona and Malaga, and Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid in
the Madrid Derby.
In the Madrid Derby right there on Saturday, 11:45 local time here.
Apart from El Clasico, probably my favorite.
Okay.
El Clasico, Barcelona, and Real Madrid, of course. But then you have Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid. The Madrid Derby, definitely
That'd be a good one. Excuse me. And then we have Sunday. We have Alaves and Espanyol, Sporting Lisbon and Real Sociedad, Valencia and Granada, and Atletico Bilbao facing off with Villarreal. And to finish off on Monday, we have Leganes and Osasuna facing off in the only lone game of the day. So I would say definitely the Derby is probably the biggest matchup of
Absolutely.
this weekend.
It's going to steal the show this week. Really, in my eyes, in European football, we have obviously Die Klassiker between Dortmund and Bayern Munich. We have Manchester United and Arsenal. But to me, this is the best game. Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid. The Madrid Derby, Atleti and Real. For Real Madrid, it's kind of a good thing they had this international break because they're going to be getting 2 of their top stars back for this game. Center back Sergio Ramos has missed the last 8 games. He scored in the Champions League final against Atleti last year, and he even did that 2 years ago to push them into extra time. So they will be glad to get their Spanish center back. And as well, they're going to be having Luka Modric, probably fit for the game. In my eyes, probably the best center midfielder in the world. So they're going to get the Croatian back to face Atleti. Antoine Griezmann is kind of battling a little bit of an injury, but it looks like he will be healthy enough to play, and you'd imagine so, having scored against Real last year. It seems like Atletico have the edge in La Liga. It seems like they always battle Real really good, but Real Madrid have not lost a game in the league this year, but then Real seem to always find a way to get them in the Champions League. The last 3 years in the Champions League, 2 finals, and then last year, the year before that when they lost, they beat them, Atleti, all 3 times. So have to see what happens. It's going to be a tough game. I would expect a low-scoring matchup. I think maybe a 2-1 result. Real have been flying high. They're getting a couple of their top players back. I'll give them the edge. Atletico, still a great team, but they kind of slipped recently. Lost to Real Sociedad 2-0 in their last game. They lost to Sevilla before that. So I'll give the edge to Real in the first Madrid Derby of the season.
All right, I can go with you on that one, man. But that's all we have for previews as it stands. We're going to actually take our last break, come back. We're going to talk some award finalists, a little short list for once it's actually short. And
something you actually are fond of finally.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about none other than Olympic all-time great Usain Bolt also in just a minute. So we'll be right back from our break in just a moment at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Welcome back into the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. Going to be ending the show talking about Usain Bolt, but really, really quickly, we have the short list for the BBC African Footballer of the Year award. And as Alex mentioned, it's finally a short list because he has not been a big fan of some of these short lists. We talked about the Ballon d'Or short list, which actually features 30 players. The FIFA Men's Player of the Year, which features 23.
Those aren't short lists, those are lists. Those are just flat out
lists.
lists.
Think about how many players there are in the world. 30 and 23 is a short list in that aspect. And it gets trimmed. You know what I mean? It gets trimmed down to 3 finalists.
Yes, but that's a short list, so don't call it.
That's a finalist.
23 more than one.
But that's 3. The final list, not a short list. Okay, but anyways, as you mentioned, we do actually have a short list to talk about, something you're very happy. But it's the BBC African Footballer of the Year award. It has 5 names on the list. A couple of the favorites in my eyes are Leicester City and Algeria right midfielder or winger, however you want to call it, Riyad Mahrez. After the year he had last year, 17 goals and 11 assists for Leicester, as well as his contributions for the Algeria national team. We have Borussia Dortmund striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang from Gabon. A great, great year for Dortmund last year. He was actually the winner of this award last year, so he's looking to repeat. As well as 3 other names, he's joined by Sadio Mane of Liverpool, as well as he was with Southampton last year. And from the Senegal, we have West Ham and Ghana's Andre Ayew. He played for Swansea City in the Premier League as well last year. And then the guy who really for the past 5-6 years has been absolutely destroying this award, opposed from last year, is Yaya Toure of Manchester City and Ivory Coast. He is a central midfielder. So, Alex, as I mentioned, the 2 favorites for this award are Riyad Mahrez of Algeria and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang of Gabon. I think it's going to come down to those 2 for sure. As far as where it goes, I think this is a tough one. I think you have to look at 2 different things. One, Riyad Mahrez's success, his sort of contributions he did for Leicester City. Without Riyad Mahrez last year, they are nowhere near competing for the Premier League title. But you can also say the same thing about N'Golo Kante and Jamie Vardy, as well as their backline with Robert Huth and Wes Morgan. But I feel like I'd probably go with Dortmund striker and Gabon striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang for everything he did for Dortmund last year. He also won this award last year, featured in the Team of the Year for the Bundesliga, one of the best 11. I think he's probably going to lose this award to Mahrez because of the success Leicester has had this year and all the sort of acknowledgement they're getting. But I would go with Aubameyang.
I personally cast my vote for Mahrez, so.
But we're in agreement that Mane, Yaya Toure, and Andre Ayew have no chance, right?
No, I definitely say it's between not them.
I mean, great players. They've done a lot for their respective countries and club teams, but they just didn't have the years Riyad Mahrez and Aubameyang had.
Yeah, no, I'd say it's probably a 2-man race between them, and I cast my vote just a minute ago for Riyad Mahrez. So.
I think he will win, but I would personally vote for Aubameyang for the contributions for his club.
Okay.
But because I think his stats are better, but Mahrez did a lot more for Leicester, and I think that'll sort of take into consideration more for the voters. The award will be handed out December 12th, so a little less than a month now, and people can actually vote. They have a little over a week left to vote. So
yes, follow suit and vote for who you think should win the BBC African Footballer, we should say, of the year 2016. All right, last but not least, Ben, let's move on to some news surrounding Usain Bolt?
The 9-time Olympic gold medalist for track and field.
Regarded as the fastest human ever timed. That is his nickname.
Well, in the 100 and 200 meters, yes.
He's the first man to hold both the 100 and 200 meter world records since fully automatic time became mandatory, Ben. He's pretty great.
He's pretty fast.
He's he's almost as fast as I am. So, somewhere between like it's like Usain Bolt and a cheetah, and then in between the two of them, there's me.
I mean, I have seen you run, and I gotta say, just everything went crazy. My hair went backwards. It was standing up, all staticky, because you just blew right by.
Yeah,
everyone.
It was pretty insane. But I mean, if we want to talk about somebody slower, we can talk about Usain Bolt. And Usain Bolt, he's talking about playing some football.
He's been a fan of actually soccer and American football. A lot of talks about him maybe trying out to be a wide receiver because of his speed. He can just kind of run by everybody. But obviously from Jamaica, he plays a lot of soccer. He does support Manchester United. He did talk about how he would love to play for Manchester United. But actually, he's making waves for a different club about what he's going to be set to do, Alex.
Yeah, he's trying to start training with Borussia Dortmund, as a matter of fact. And that was confirmed by their CEO, as a matter of fact, yesterday.
Yeah, the CEO of Borussia Dortmund, he did announce that Usain Bolt will be training with the club. Actually, he said in an interview That'll probably be at the start of next preseason. He said, of course, he won't visit us in an important week with the Champions League matches, but maybe in the preseason. We are delighted to take this as an honor. Obviously, Bolt, sponsored by Puma. You have the Puma-based company sponsoring Borussia Dortmund, so there's a connection there. He loves playing soccer. I mean, I've never seen him play, so I have no idea.
You had no idea how good he is.
But about this being kind of realistic, like the club did say that this is not a publicity stunt. This is not for marketing. Like, this is going to be taken serious. So I guess you can compare it to like maybe Tim Tebow playing baseball or Michael Jordan, or it's a little different. I think this is just
marquee athlete.
I think this is just a little training thing. I don't think this is going to be taken very serious. Like, maybe he'll play in a preseason exhibition game for Dortmund, kind of like Will Ferrell did for all these minor league baseball, or not all these teams in baseball and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't take this very serious, but just picture this, okay? Picture this front line. You could have Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who's probably, well, he's definitely a top 5, but probably the fastest player in Europe for Dortmund. And you could pair him up with literally the fastest guy in the world with
if he can handle
Usain
a ball,
Bolt.
that's gonna be some trouble.
And he's 6'4", so you can
he's
just
6'5".
You could just cross it into the box, and he could just land these headers, or you can just literally Leicester City-esque send long balls, have him run behind the back four, have him run behind those center backs, and no one's catching him. If he has any control with the ball, if he can dribble at all, if he has any kind of finishing ability, that would be absolutely incredible. And then you pair him up with Marco Reus on the left side, who has pace to burn as well.
Yeah, he's only 20. He's only 30, actually.
I mean,
he's actually just turned 30.
That could be interesting to watch in an exhibition game. Like I said, I don't really see much of a future there. He's going to, for Borussia Dortmund, that's an elite club in the world. He'd be playing against top players. So I don't take this into consideration much, but I guess it would be fun to watch, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would check it out. Personally, I would check the heck out of that.
Yeah, it would be kind of interesting, but I don't know. I don't take much into consideration, but I mean, we'll always have to update you, see what happens. He looks like he obviously has played a lot of soccer. He supports Manchester United. He's been really adamant about wanting to play for Manchester United, although he is looking at Dortmund now. But I mean, we'll have to wait and see. This, like I said, it'll be entertaining. It would be cool.
I would check it out, to say the least. But we'll have to see if anything else happens with that. But until then, we are done.
We are done. So,
of course, on Monday next week, we will recap the games of the weekend here and all the news that happens in between, and we'll preview, the matchups next week as well on Tuesday and Wednesday. So
yeah, we'll have Champions League.
We'll have Champions League to preview on Monday. So we'll do all that and much more on Monday. But until then, it's time to go. We have a 7-day break. In the meantime, you guys enjoy your football, enjoy your sports, anything and everything you like to watch and listen to. Thank you, as always, for listening to our show, the Golden State Media Concept Soccer Podcast. As always, I'm Alex.
My name is Ben.
And we will see you guys next week. You enjoy your week. Have it be good and filled with football.
I don't think you could have said that any better.
I'm a word wizard. And I'm the fastest man alive.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.